Welcome back to the Healing Energy Collective, a space for mindfulness, embodiment, and healing. I'm Scarlett, and I'm really grateful you're here. Today, I want to talk about something that can feel surprisingly confusing in the healing process, and that's the relationship between acceptance and growth. On the surface, these two ideas can feel like they contradict each other. Growth implies movement, change, becoming something more or different, while acceptance can feel like staying the same, settling, or even giving up. And because of that, many people find themselves in an internal tug of war. In my work, I often hear clients express a fear that if they truly slow down and accept where they are, they will lose all momentum. There's a belief that acceptance means they will stop processing, that they will become complacent, or that they will somehow fall behind. And so instead of allowing themselves to pause, they keep pushing. They keep trying to fix, improve, optimize, and move forward, even when their body is clearly asking for something else. Maybe this sounds like you. What's important to understand is that this fear doesn't come from nowhere. Many of us have been conditioned to believe that growth is driven by pressure. We learn that progress comes from effort, from discipline, from not letting ourselves get too comfortable. For some, acceptance was never modeled as safe. Slowing down may have been associated with failure, laziness, or even disconnection from others. So when the idea of acceptance arises, it can feel threatening, not soothing. But when we look more closely at how real sustainable change happens, especially from a therapeutic and nervous system perspective, we begin to see that acceptance is not the opposite of growth. It's actually what makes growth possible. When we are constantly trying to change ourselves, there's often an underlying message driving that effort. And that message is usually something like, I'm not enough as I am, or I need to be different in order to be okay. Even if that message is subtle, it creates pressure in the system. It keeps the body in a state of activation. You may notice this as overthinking, perfectionism, emotional overwhelm, or cycles of starting and stopping. There's a constant striving, but very little sense of arrival or stability. This is what happens when growth is disconnected from acceptance. The nervous system never gets a chance to settle. And without that sense of safety, change doesn't integrate. It becomes exhausting rather than transformative. Acceptance, in contrast, is not about resignation. It's not about deciding that nothing will ever change. It's about acknowledging what is true in this moment without immediately trying to alter it. It might sound like, I feel anxious right now, or I'm struggling, or I don't have clarity yet. There is softness in acceptance, a willingness to be with your experience instead of fighting it. And when you stop resisting what is already here, something shifts. The body begins to regulate. The mind becomes a little quieter. There's more space to actually see what is happening rather than reacting to it. A big reason this can feel so difficult is because of rigid or black and white thinking. The mind tends to create false binaries, such as if I accept, I won't grow, or if I slow down, I'll fall behind, or if I'm not actively improving, I'm failing. But healing doesn't exist in those extremes. It lives in flexibility. It lives in the ability to hold two truths at once. You can accept yourself exactly as you are and still desire change. You can rest and still move forward. You can honor your limits and still expand over time. When we begin to loosen this rigid thinking, we create more room for a different kind of growth to emerge. One that is not driven by urgency, but by alignment. From a nervous system perspective, acceptance is deeply regulating. When you stop fighting your internal experience, you reduce the level of stress and activation in the body. You create a sense of safety, and safety is what allows for expansion. Without it, the system remains in a protective state, which often shows up as avoidance, self sabotage, or burnout. This is why so many people find themselves stuck in cycles where they push forward for a period of time, eventually become overwhelmed, and then shut down or pull back. It's not a lack of discipline, it's a lack of regulation. When acceptance is present, growth becomes more sustainable. It becomes something that unfolds gradually rather than something that has to be forced. You're able to take action without abandoning yourself. You're able to stay consistent without burning out. You're able to respond thoughtfully instead of reacting from pressure or fear. So, if you've been feeling like you need to push harder or slowing down is something setting you back, I want to gently offer a reframe. What if the next step in your growth is not more effort, but more presence? What if acceptance is not where growth ends, but where it begins? Real change doesn't come from constantly trying to escape where you are. It comes from learning how to meet yourself there fully and honestly, and then moving forward from that place. And if this is something you're navigating, this tension between wanting to grow and feeling afraid to slow down, you don't have to figure it out alone. In my work, whether through therapy, somatic practices, or the spaces I hold, this is something we explore together. We focus on building safety in the body first so that growth doesn't feel so overwhelming or unsustainable. If you feel called to go deeper into this work, you can book a session with me or learn more about working together through my website at scarlettchang.com. There is space for you to grow in a way that feels supported, grounded, and aligned. Thank you for being here and for allowing yourself to approach your growth with a little more compassion. Remember, you are enough exactly as you are, and I'll see you next time.